welcome to the Berkshire High Sheriff Awards 2021. We're here to celebrate together some of the wonderful groups and individuals from across Berkshire who have made such a difference to our communities throughout the COVID crisis. I think that all of us have experienced in varying degrees isolation, anxiety, loss and uncertainty over the last 12 months. But running through this has been a little but powerful seam of gold, as so many have selflessly and often very quietly given so much. It has been both a privilege and an inspiration for me to hear about, speak to and meet when possible so many of these Berkshire heroes. The selection panel has faced an almost impossible job as we felt every one of the many nominees deserved to be recognised. However, they've persevered, and tonight we're going to announce the 7 winners. So I'd like to invite you to sit back and take this opportunity to reflect on and enjoy so much that demonstrates the very best of human nature. And I hope that you will be as uplifted and encouraged as I have been. I'm delighted this evening that we are joined by some honoured guests who will each introduce an award, announce the 3 finalists and reveal the winner. And this will then be followed by a short film to show you some of their amazing achievements and work. The first award is for the Young Volunteer, and I'm delighted that this will be introduced by Chief Fire Officer of the Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue, Trevor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mary, and it's a real privilege to join you tonight, and it's also a real privilege to announce the award. And the finalists for the Young Volunteer Awards are Ada Ahmed for her remarkable volunteering with Together as One, Kwame Misa for his dedicated work supporting coffee and craft food share, and Annie Hodgson for her inspirational volunteering with Special People on Ice. And the winner is Ada Ahmed. Congratulations and really well done.
Hi, my name's Ada. I'm 18 years old and I live in Slough. I go to an organisation known as AXR, which means Together as One. It ranges from a whole wide range of different backgrounds, ages, of kids wanting to make a difference within their community.
I nominated this award for Ada because she's been volunteering with us now for around 4 years, and during that time I've seen her do just about everything imaginable for her community. If she's got a skill, if she's got a facet, then she's using it to help other people. I've seen her sing for the homeless, cook for the homeless, bake for the NHS. Whatever you can conceive, she's done it.
Today I'm volunteering at the Slough Vaccination Centre. We've done other work such as knife crime work, and we do murals all around Slough. For me personally, I feel like if I make a difference in the community, more people will be willing to make the difference as well once they see the positive outcome that we have.
At AXR we have many young volunteers doing excellent work, but I think what makes Ada stand out is she's had tragedy in her life, and for some people, you know, that can break a person, and instead she used that as a kind of catalyst to help her community.
My cousin was stabbed in the local park 4 years ago this year. For me, that was probably the biggest factor, because many people choose to carry knives but don't actually realise the consequences of it. And at the end of the day, I always say this, it's not just like my family that lost that, it's also the person who did it's family, because that person is now in jail. The legacy of my cousin made me want to contribute to society. Even like the smallest thing, like literally going to a charity and literally volunteering for a day, you're still helping. You're helping other people's lives to be easier as well. And I feel like that's what it should be like, everyone helping each other.
Having an award like this is just such a brilliant way of recognising that fact that she's been through so much and still done so much with the time and the skills that she has.
Personally, for me, knowing that if I was to like pass away tomorrow, I can pass away knowing that I've made a difference, I've done something. A message to my generation would be get out, help wherever you can. Even just by doing this, you're still doing something.
My wish for Ada is that she takes from this just how much she's valued, not just by myself as someone who coordinates volunteers for AXR, but just by the whole community. There's so many people I know that just, really value everything she brings to our community.
It's important to be kind. Kindness is love, and love to me is my community. It's also a chain reaction for people. So if you're kind to somebody, then they sort of follow that on. And it's sort of like just that cycle of knowing that everyone's being kind to each other and you're making the world a better place.
The Community Award is to be announced by His Honour Judge Cambis Maradifa.
Thank you very much, Mary. I'm going to now read the list of nominees. The finalists for the Community Awards are Jake Morrison for his work establishing One Front Door to help Wokingham citizens through the pandemic, Panda Fallon for her work with Bounce Back for kids supporting families at risk of domestic abuse through lockdown, and finally Windsor Homeless Project for their exceptional work supporting the homeless under COVID restrictions. And the winner of the Community Awards 2021 is the Windsor Homeless Project, with huge congratulations. Well done.
The aim of the project, which has been running for 11 years, is to support the homeless and the vulnerable within the Windsor community. So we've come from kind of a humble soup kitchen to offering more of a wraparound support for the homeless community and for people that we've managed to help off the streets and into longer term accommodation. And so some of that support would include access to benefits, digital support, so setting up emails. We help with bank accounts, liaise with doctors, and primarily it's just about working out what are the individual's needs, and we're able to do that because we've got a safe space which people feel familiar with. We work with the housing department within the council, mental health services and drug and alcohol support services mainly are our focus with the people that we're trying to help.
I've nominated the Windsor Homeless Project. In this time when so many things are shutting down, they have found a way to keep going and to help the vulnerable people in our community. There's a whole host of volunteers that are engaged with the project, and it's really heartwarming to see that they're still there, still available, still making a difference in a time where so many people have had to step back. And I think they're not only creative, they're courageous as well.
Over the last 12 months, from the end of March, everything kind of got flipped upside down. The Everybody In from central government was initiated, so we had a mad rush for 2 weeks to make sure that we were able to get everyone in and into safety, and then we completely transformed what we did at the project. So we shut the doors for the first time in our 11-year history, and we set up a mini food bank. So we were cooking up to 300 meals per week. We were getting lots and lots of donations from the community, so we were able to provide staples such as milk, bread, cereal, sugar, coffee, all those kind of things, bag those up, and we would drop those 3 times a week.
Nick is tireless in his dedication to helping people. He's 24/7, does everything he can to motivate, and at the heart of a great team is somebody who gives themselves 100% to the team, and that's Nick.
I spent about 14 years of my life battling with addictions and not really knowing who I was, what I wanted to do, and I managed to get some support. I spent some time in rehab and I came out of that, and I applied for a volunteer position at the Baptist Church, and that's when I was introduced to the Homeless Project, and I thought I want to dedicate myself to this. It's very emotional. I think you go through every stage of emotion on every week, but if we can get a few wins in that week, it's all worth it.
Just to be recognised and applauded by the rest of the community for the work they're doing is really meaningful. It gives people that motivation to keep going, and also it spreads the word that organisations like this can really make a difference.
It's very easy to look at someone and think you need to do better, but actually having the confidence and having self-belief to actually go and do that is very, very different. And I think that's what we try to do here every single day, is make people realise that they have got it in them. And we don't force that out of them, but we work with them very, very slowly if needed, just to instill that belief again. We are all human, we were born equal, and I think there's definitely some silver linings to take from this dreadful situation that we've all been through. And if people become a little bit more compassionate and the community is strengthened, then that's got to be a good thing.
Our next award is to recognise the amazing groups that have sprung up to meet the demands of COVID. So the new group award will be announced by the Bishop of Reading, the Right Reverend Olivia Graham.
Thank you, Mary. I'm delighted to announce that the finalists for the new group award 2021 are Haymill Support Group for their exceptional support of their community over the last year, West Windsor Hub for their prompt and continued response to supporting those in need in and around Windsor, and Colnbrook Cares for their vital work meeting the needs of the vulnerable and isolated in their community. Let's see who's won. And the winner of the new group award 2021 is Colnbrook Cares. Many congratulations to everybody in that organisation, and thank you for the wonderful work you do.
Colnbrook Cares is an initiative started up by just a few members of the community, and it's gathered momentum as the pandemic developed, and I'm very pleased to see it's happened.
So the pandemic group started when the first lockdown started back March last year, and we've been very lucky with local response from businesses, residents, family and friends. We have a great community spirit, and there was a space that wasn't being filled in terms of getting support for our community.
Since March, everyone just panicked and we just didn't know where to go. So along with Pooja and myself and Anoop, we came up with the initiative of Colnbrook Cares. And obviously we looked for volunteers, and the volunteers just basically came willingly, and hence it's actually gone to the next level. And I'm so delighted that it's, we're now in the third lockdown and it's still going.
So basically when we started, we were doing approximately 100 parcels per day, 3 days a week. And then when we stood down in September, we continued to support some of our more vulnerable families. For example, here are the kind of boxes that are going out. And we try and ensure there's enough variety in each box that there's a variety of meals that they're able to cook over that week then. And we'll be back here next Friday, and in the interim, again, we'll have donations that will add to our fantastic stock here.
It's about service above oneself, and we're here to help everyone within our community. Not just with food parcels, but sometimes they need additional services like welfare provision. They might need to be signed up to their doctor's surgery. They can just pick the phone up, they can ring my number, and we would arrange everything for them.
Kindness is what we owe the community, and it's what the community gives back.
My son was born here, and this community has given me a lot. So now I thought that this is the time I should give my time back to the community to support any needs they had in their shopping, in their pharmacy, medication, anything. We was there to help them.
They looked after us, and if we needed them, all we had to do was pick up the phone and phone any one of the councillors. And of course they had a lovely team of volunteers who delivered the parcels and so on, but they cared for us, yeah.
And of course everyone asks, how I am and whatever. Yes, they've been very, very, very good. They need to be thanked very much. Yes, they do, really.
Being recognised with such an award just means so much for Colnbrook and the village.
Recognition is great because it's deserved by all of my colleagues who have been supporting me. This is a team effort, and it's the residents who live here that have helped me pull this together.
We have served the community not to get any award or anything, but if somebody has recognized our services, that will be great. Thank you.
After a year when so many of us have been isolated at home, the importance of a good neighbour has never been higher, especially for the more vulnerable members of our society. Therefore, the panel has created an additional award to recognise someone who exemplifies all we would hope for in a good neighbour. And I'm therefore delighted to present the Good Neighbour Award to Shah Mohammed Nawaz.
I've been living in this house for about 22 years. My neighbor Harold Bignell is 98-year-old. He's been in this house for a long time, even before me, and he doesn't have an immediate family near him. We've been friendly throughout the time we lived here, helping each other. When I moved in, he was quite fit. He used to have a car. Now that he's fairly old, I have a luxury of going out shopping and things like that. So I help him out if he needs to go doctor's appointment or for any shopping.
I rely on him to get my food. I mean, I tell him what I want and make a list, give it to him, and he gets it for me.
I first met Mr. Nawaz when I was investigating a job where his neighbour had been a victim of crime.
Harold used to have a cleaner who used to come around and clean his windows. One day Harold didn't open the door when he came to knock his door, so he decided to go from the back and broke in his patio door and came into the house and asked for money, that I need money.
When we first arrived on scene, Mr. Nawaz made himself present and came out straight away and started talking to me and asking what had happened.
Told the police that this is the name of the person who might be responsible. Apparently it was known to the police, that person, so they caught him.
After the offence had happened, Mr. Nawaz, out of his own money, put floodlights, put some alarms in for the neighbour so that he felt more secure in his home.
Harold is a very sort of proud man. He wouldn't ask for help as well from social services or anything like that. So we rely on each other.
I asked Mr. Nawaz how come he does so much for the neighbour, and he said to me that it's just my duty, and this is something I'm instilling in my children too, but it's something he's very passionate about.
There's a lot of sayings or a lot of phrases in the Quran, how you're supposed to treat your neighbours. You've got to love your neighbour. Things you like for yourself, you have to like things for him as well. The way you like to be treated, treat him like that. It goes as far as you can't be a true believer if your neighbour sleeps hungry. When you talk about the neighbour, it doesn't say what religion it has to be. It says your neighbour. So your neighbour could be anybody. It doesn't talk about only if you're Muslim, then you look after, or only if it's that religion. The human beings are all human beings.
I don't think these nominees, including Mr. Nawaz, feel that they should be awarded for what they do. But I feel as a community we should be putting these people out in the public eye to show them as role models for all generations, to say, look, there is no limit to kindness, there's no limit to just going that extra mile for someone who's not related to you or is related to you, whatever that is. I feel that we as society should celebrate these people and encourage more people to be like them.
The world will be very peaceful if people respect each other, have kind to each other, have values, treat each other nicely, kindly. It'd be a very peaceful world.
These days, you know, that unless you have good neighbours, you're in trouble.
The Lord Lieutenant of the Royal County of Berkshire, James Puxley, joins us now to announce the winner of the Volunteer Award.
Thank you, Mary. Well, it's my great pleasure this evening to announce the finalists for the Volunteer Awards. Becky Blair-Jones for her exceptional volunteering with the Slough West Indian Enterprise and with the Salt Hill and Langley vaccination sites. Malcolm Johnston for a lifetime of volunteering supporting the homeless and those in need in Slough. And Tia Stevens for her work founding and running the charity Driven Forward, supporting those in need in the Windsor community. And the winner of the Volunteer Award 2021 is Malcolm Johnston. Congratulations to you, Malcolm.
Well, I've been doing this for 5, maybe more years, which was the London side. And we started here in Slough in March last year when there was suddenly a shutdown. It was homeless to start with, but then it was the people in need who were on these no-hour contracts, and they were desperate for food. They're just down on their luck. I mean, you're 1.5 paychecks away from being on the street. So we started off by a couple of tons of food, and then it went up from 2 tons to eventually about 53 tons we got through in the period of 3 months. So it got quite big quite quickly, and it's carried on ever since.
There is a need for just helping families, and this aspect of the fair share and making it available. Malcolm does a great job collecting from the supermarkets, bringing it around. Without that, we wouldn't be able to do it.
Luckily, St Joseph's in Chalfont St Peter, they have 2 large halls. We collect from the supermarkets, and then I take it to the hall, and then I've got a small team there who help distribute it out, and we finish about midnight every day. This is one of the biggest of the pick-ups that people collect from, but there are many more that we go to every day.
It's not just doing things, but I think the big contribution Malcolm brings is the imagination.
I don't believe in just feeding people. You feed them, yes, but there's got to be a pathway out. And we as the London Slough Run have taken on 2 properties. And what actually happens is we tell them they're there for 3 months, but they must look for a job in that period. And it's been successful in that sense. On one of the properties where there were 3, they all got jobs within 2 weeks. And of course, at the end of the 3 months, they moved on. And then they have a future. And that's what I want, to see them have a future. It's no good just feeding them.
I think there's a huge message of thanks to Malcolm, and if he is watching this, it's important to say it because it's often not said each morning when he comes in, having been up hours. Without the contribution Malcolm's making, this just wouldn't have happened.
I want to give back to society what society's given me. I've had a brilliant life, and I just want to give it back, all that I had and I've benefited from. It pleases me to see there's so many happy faces, and it brings out the best in people.
I think without an award, people like Malcolm just wouldn't be noticed. And certainly in terms of the energy that he's putting into it, it's really important that we recognise people like that.
If you give them a good start or help them start, most people will progress very, very quickly. It's just giving them that one start in life. And if you've had a downturn in your life, you need picking up. And this is just what I want to do, give them a hand.
Trevor Ferguson is joining us again to announce the next award, which is for those who have stepped up to support the isolated over the last year.
Thanks again, Mary. Again, it is such a pleasure to be here, and I will now be announcing the finalists for the Supporting the Isolated Award, who are Berkshire Vision for their outstanding efforts supporting the visually impaired during the pandemic, the Link Visiting Scheme for their rapid response to support the isolated in Wokingham over the last year, and Younger People with Dementia for their vital work supporting those with dementia and their carers, especially during lockdown. And the winner is the Link Visiting Scheme. Congratulations and really well done. Such an amazing achievement.
I've always had the deepest respect for this charity, but what's happened in the last year is what really inspired me to put the charity forward for this award. The focus of the charity is on tackling the issues around loneliness and social isolation. And all of our services over a 20-year period have all been revolving around various face-to-face meetings, activities, community events, etc. So you can probably imagine that when the pandemic struck, almost all of our activities and services really had to be put on hold. What they did, in fact, was something quite incredible. The whole team refocused our 300 or so volunteers on the most vulnerable, almost 3,000 people, by having every single one of those people with at least one phone call a week. So the whole nature of the charity changed, the whole process that we went about engaging with the community changed, but the team itself just worked non-stop to make it happen.
Generally, we call people over the phone to have chatty conversations, a social time. You know, there's no sort of script, it's just to get to know people and just to share what's going on in their lives, share stories. And then we've been helping older people to get online as well. So we've been doing Zoom calls and we've started friendship groups just to broaden people's social circle and to have more excuses to have fun and more connections.
And just in speaking to those people, you just knew almost to a person they wanted to keep talking for as long as possible. And having someone out there who cared for them was actually so important to just their well-being and feeling that they weren't isolated, they weren't going to be stuck at home for a year. And that carried on for months and months.
When we've called out to people to say, can you help? You know, people need some social support. They need that friendly voice on the end of the phone. Can you help? We have been overwhelmed with people saying, yes, I can help. And we are so grateful to everybody that's come forward and given up their time.
One of the terms we use to describe the link often is a small charity with a big heart. And I like to see it that way, that these guys together just have the biggest beating heart imaginable.
The thing with loneliness is it's an incredibly painful and difficult emotion to experience, and yet there's such an easy fix. You know, just a simple thing as picking up the phone or popping in and visiting people, getting to know your neighbours can literally transform people's lives. So I think that's what really motivates me. It's that I'm not asking people to do very difficult things. I'm asking people to do very simple things, but it has such a major impact.
Being recognised through this nomination and having a link appear as a finalist, I think, has already inspired the team.
We are so thankful and grateful, and you know, we are fully aware of what a brilliant community we live in.
The High Sheriff Award reflects a key part of the role of High Sheriff, and it recognises those who've made a difference in law and order and the administration of justice. And I'm delighted that we are joined this evening by the Chief Constable of the Thames Valley Police, John Campbell, to announce the winner of this award.
Thank you, Mary, and I'm speaking to you here from our Police Training Centre at Sulhamstead, and I'm very honoured and privileged to be able to announce the nominations and the winner of the High Sheriff's Award. And the High Sheriff Award is made to those who make a difference in law and order and the administration of justice. And the finalists are Mavis Thurling. Mavis is nominated for her hard work and commitment as a police volunteer over 20 years, helping the Ascot community stay safe. Helen Vaughan Graham. And Helen's nominated for outstanding efforts that have enabled the Berkshire Family Courts to continue to run during the past 12 months. And Jackie Chamberlain and Jenny Pickett. And they are nominated for their outstanding contribution over many years to the Reading Youth Offending Service. And the winner is Helen Vaughan Graham. Helen, many congratulations. A wonderful recognition of all your hard work and commitment. Thank you.
I nominated Helen because she has shown outstanding leadership and organisational skills to ensure that we family justices have had no backlog of family cases here in Berkshire, despite the restrictions of the pandemic during 2020.
Predominantly, we deal with private law applications, so where parents have separated, whether they've been married or not, and sadly they are in dispute about the arrangements over their children. So they come to court, they make an application, and we will make a decision about how a child spends their time with their parents.
And due to Helen switching us to remote hearings and video hearings and creating a COVID-safe court, since March we've heard cases involving 1,500 children just here in Reading Magistrates Court, which, to put in context, is about 20 double-decker bus full of children that we have helped because Helen enabled that to happen. So she really is an extraordinary person, and we're very proud of her.
It's really important to remember that doing what we do in the family courts, we deal with some of the most needy and some of the most vulnerable children. And Helen is very much at the front line of dealing with those people. And she deals with them so well. She ensures that they have a fair system within which their cases are dealt with.
She does all this with 2 young children of her own. Her husband is a serving police officer, and her commitment to her work is extraordinary.
She has a really fantastic balance of hard work and toughness with an intuitive sensitivity that I think makes her so special.
I think you're probably going to speak to Helen, and I know that she will say, well, this is just part of my job.
Honestly, I've just been doing my job for the last year.
But it is beyond that, and just because it's part of your job doesn't mean it shouldn't be recognised. And I think it's really important to single out those people who, in times of extraordinary crisis with no precedent, there was no one to tell us what to do, there was no one to work out the best way forward, and Helen did that.
Because I don't want children to suffer, really. I think children should be able to have a relationship with their parents, or if in care proceedings they can't live with their parents, that they live in safety. I feel quite strongly that we're there to help these children have better lives.
And she extended that role by making all these provisions for us to carry on performing hearings even when our courts were shut and other courts around the country were shut. And I think that really deserves recognition, and I think she would be a very worthy winner.
I'm flattered, honoured. I really can't believe that anyone has gone out of their way to nominate me, so I'm absolutely thrilled.
If we're not kind to each other, the very fabric of society comes under threat. And to have individuals like Helen who do it not just outside in the society generally, because I know she does, but also to do it within their work environment, particularly when you're working in a very pressurized situation. And to do that with the kindness that she does, it's what makes the difference.
And just finally to add to everyone who has been nominated for such remarkable, outstanding achievements in such a difficult year. You've been really successful, you deserve huge credit, and thank you for everything you continue to do for the people of Berkshire. Thank you.
I just want to say many congratulations to everybody who's been nominated for an award this year, and many, many thanks for all that you all do to support your communities in such wonderful ways.
Let me take this opportunity to thank all the nominees for all the wonderful volunteering work that they do in Berkshire. We are eternally grateful, so thank you so much.
Finally, thank you to all those that have been nominated for the awards today. Many thanks for the contribution that you make to your communities and the county of Berkshire. On behalf of Thames Valley Police, my thanks and my best wishes.
Can I take this opportunity to congratulate all the nominees and all the winners of this prestigious award. Everybody has made an enormous contribution in these exceptional circumstances. And can I also thank the High Sheriff Mary for her fantastic work and her commitment in what has been the most unusual High Sheriff tenure than one can ever imagine. So huge thanks to you, Mary.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Congratulations to all our nominees, runners-up and winners. It's been a privilege to see all your amazing work highlighted. Thank you for everything you've done. You are truly an example to us all.